The fallout from Juve's Champions League exit continues in Italy. Gazzetta saying TR7 from king to confusion. Corriere, Ronaldo is a burden now. And Tutto Sport looking to the future and saying Juve reformation. But all the talk is still about that wall on the free kick, the Sergio Oliveira free kick. It went under the wall by both Cristiano Ronaldo, Alvaro Morata and Adrien Rabiot. You see those two jumping up, turning their backs to the ball. And there have been some quotes that we'd like to bring to you about this moment. Mbemba, the Porto centre-back, said, "We'd seen on video how the Juve wall reacts to free kicks. Oliveira's decision was based on the possibility of them jumping." Fabio Capello called the moment unforgivable. He said, certain goals can't be conceded, but this is the worst. Cristiano Ronaldo jumping and turning in the wall. Whoever's in the wall can't be afraid of being hit. That was an unforgivable error with no excuses. In my day, you chose the players who went into the wall and they couldn't be someone afraid of the ball. Cruyff used to say that you should never put beautiful players jumping on the wall against free kicks because they're afraid to ruin their face. I wonder if any of my ex-player pundits were put in the wall by their coaches.
Take your pick.
Frank, what did you make of this moment?
Well, I was just on the side of the wall because I wasn't, but just for one reason, to sacrifice myself. It was just to sacrifice myself, you know. If it was indirect, you know, I had to get out and take the ball in the face because I was very ugly, so whatever. But I agree with that, you know. You have to go for it. I mean, a wall is a wall. A wall shouldn't move. I mean, they created a new fashion of holding the wall with the wall jumping and somebody laying down, and that can be okay, accepted. But when you jump and you have nobody, and on top of it you do it so many times that even the opponent, they know that you're going to do that and they use it, it's a real big, huge mistake, especially from Italy. I mean, in Italy, at Juve, there is a real way of defending, and I talked about that before. You know how to defend, and free kicks, they were experts on not being at, in the right distance, just moving up, you know, jumping if needed, but not everybody. It's a science in Italy, the way to defend, and Gab can hold me back on that, but really, that was huge. That was a huge mistake.
Actually, I'll give Gab the right to respond then on that one. Is it a science then, Gab? How have a Juve side like this left this moment for this to happen? We know how important Champions League games are. Pirlo himself said that they didn't sense the danger, but how did they let that happen?
Well, Pirlo said, I've actually never seen them turn their backs like that before, post-game, which I'm sure people have found video and shown that actually, in fact, it has happened before. I think the thinking was, and there was some suggestion that Weston McKennie would have ordinarily gone and laid down behind them. They felt it wasn't necessary because he was so far away. I suspect that's part of the reason that they jumped as well. You know, it doesn't really matter that they turned their backs because in the end he hit it low to the ground like that. I think it was just a collective failure. It was an underestimation of what Sergio Oliveira would do from there, that he would shoot on goal. And I think it's as simple as that. They said there is no way that this guy is going to hit it low from there. And so he said, then all we ought to do is jump and turn our heads, and we're good.
Stevie, you were pretty stunned by this moment. You can see why many managers are putting players laying down behind the wall right now, can't you?
To be honest, I don't think that's the biggest factor in this. I think when you look at a picture of that, that's a wall that hasn't been coached. And I think Capello's getting at that. You know, particularly when you're a young manager, you assume things way more than you do when you're a couple of years into the job. Because at the end of the day, you have to assume that nobody understands what you want. And you have to make sure, regardless of whether it's Ronaldo or anybody else or a kid, you walk them through it.
So this is Pirlo's fault?
Absolutely, this is Pirlo's fault. He should be sticking his finger in their face and saying, right, this is going to be our wall, or whatever wall I put in, and you can either jump or you stand, but you stay straight and you stay together. And every single coach in the world will tell its wall, stay together. Now, do you think this wall has been told to stay together? I think Pirlo has shown a bit of an experience here. He's clearly assumed that the people in the wall know what they're doing, and he hasn't walked it It hasn't walked them through properly. That's what this looks like to me.
Shaka, you're not going to want to see that wall in front of you as a goalkeeper, are you?
Oh, absolutely not. That was as bad a wall as I've ever seen at this level of football. And I agree fully with Stevie. This is down to the coach. This is down to Andrea Pirlo in talking to those players. And it doesn't even have to be those players specifically. Just talking to his team about building a wall and how you're supposed to react or not, as the case may be, and making sure that everybody gets that message. And regardless of who's in that wall, they know what's expected of them. On the other hand, I kind of remember Andrea Pirlo defending in his latter years, and to see that wall, it's kind of reflective of Pirlo and his own defensive efforts in his own career.
What do you reckon, Don?
I don't know, Kay. I mean, am I missing something here? These guys are professional footballers. I don't see how it's Pirlo's fault. When you get put in a wall, Quadrado's in there, Morata... No, let me finish, Stevie. Stevie, let me finish, mate. You professional footballer, if you're told to stand in a wall because you're going to block a free kick, there was a centre-half in there, Quadrado was in there, Morata was in there, Ronaldo was in there. The wall is horrendous. It's one of the worst walls I've ever seen in my life, but I don't think that needs coaching, Stevie. I think you just stand there. You don't have to jump. You just stand there. This is the Champions League. This is Juventus. This is playing for some of the biggest clubs in world football, trying to get into the latter stages of the Champions League. Stand there and take that little leather ball right in the face if you're serious about winning the Champions League. It's just a wall. Stand in there.
And you've just made my point. He's assuming that because you're a professional footballer, know what to do.
Well, yeah, stand and take it in the face, man.
Right, let me dissect this for you. You've got 4 professional footballers in a wall playing for Juventus in a big Champions League game, but yet they don't know what to do. Does that not prove the point? Because if they knew what to do, Ronaldo wouldn't have turned his back. The other two, the side wouldn't have split. And Morata wouldn't be halfway up and halfway down. That's why I say never assume. You've got to make sure they know what they're doing and they have to do it. They clearly didn't know what they were doing.
This might tell you a story about actually what's happening in Juventus. This might just be we're looking at a wall and saying, it's the wall, it's the lack of bravery. You know, it's got to be more than that. You know, Juventus have lost some games at the start of the season where if Micho Sarri's in charge, he would have got absolutely battered. You know, I heard Kay there say one of the headlines, Ronaldo's a burden. I mean, that's a bit strong. I'd be looking at people like Rabiot and people like Aaron Ramsey before I even look at someone like Ronaldo. I mean, why is it someone who's a superstar, like when Juventus doesn't win the Champions League, it's Ronaldo's fault. When Liverpool lose 6 games on the spin, it's Thiago's fault. And when Barca are in decline, it's Messi's fault. How about the rest of them, by the way, standing up and starting to play?
No, what are you talking about? Ronaldo's got his backside facing the guy taking the free kick, and you let Ronaldo off.
No. I'm just saying in general. I'm not saying in the wall. I'm saying in general, because Kay read the headline there, Stevie, where Ronaldo's a burden. Now, in the wall, obviously, I'm just talking about the bigger picture, where I find it incredible. I find it incredible that people are looking at Ronaldo, calling him a burden. What's the rest of the players doing?
Because, Gab, that does seem to be the implication.
I think that...
Go on, Shaka.
Go ahead, Kay.
I'm just saying...
I was just going to say, I think... I'll go. Why people are pointing the finger at Ronaldo is because he was brought in for a specific cause, and that cause has fell flat for the last 3 years. So given the money you spend on Ronaldo, you understand people questioning that as a project and what it means and the burden it is on Juventus financially for a project that has failed. But to the point in this wall, and listen, I was talking about Pirlo's defensive duties as a player, totally turning a cheek, but he has to set his stall out. He has to set the whole atmosphere and attitude around how they defend, not just walls, but just in general. And I think I'm with Stevie here. I think that comes from the coach. And to have a wall where 3 out of the 4 turn their backs in the way that they do, that's more than just one player shaking his duty. That points to a bigger issue that I think the manager has to take responsibility for.
But Don did bring up a good point, because it is almost the implication from some, and I wonder if this is the case in Italy with those headlines we've seen, that this does fall on Ronaldo's shoulders more than the coach. We're seeing him get the blame.
I think actually I'm with Shaka here. I think the context of that headline was more about financial issues and how much Cristiano is costing them a year in wages and amortization. He has another year left after this. This whole notion, which kind of really bugs me, about Cristiano was brought in to win the Champions League. That was the project the first 2 years, right? They spent enormous amounts of money. People thought maybe it was the final piece in the puzzle. They spent a ton of money on players around him, on veteran players, on high-priced free agents. And then the numbers didn't add up. After 2 years, and this is why they went in a different direction under Pirlo this summer, they said, all right, we're going to start over. We can't sell Ronaldo. We can't move him on. He's going to be part of the project, but we're going to have a year of transition because we need to. Because there's no team in Europe that's successful that doesn't go out there and play attacking football, dominating the pitch. And that is simply something that Juventus were not doing. Even when they were winning leagues at home, they weren't doing that. They were much more conservative in the way they played. And they didn't want to play that way anymore. And that's why they went down the Pirlo route. And Ronaldo, by the way, is having his best season at Juve this year under Pirlo. Obviously, he had an absolute stinker at Porto, but we can go on and on about the wall, and yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. But guys, Juventus played awful both halves in the first leg, and they were awful in the first half against Porto in the second leg. And that's why they went out, more so than the fact that the wall opened up.
Yeah, but that's my point, Gab. That is my point about Ronaldo. It's you mentioned the finances, which has got nothing to do with him, by the way. They brought him in to be a superstar and to pay him absolute fortunes. But we all know the game on this panel. You can't do it on your own. You can't have a 36-year-old Ronaldo on his own taking Juve to Champions League finals and domestic finals and winning every single game and scoring 40 goals a season. When you're 36 like Ronaldo and what Messi is and what Zlatan's doing, you need a team around you. And you're right, Gab. He has had a really good season.
And that's what they've tried to do this season, Don.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But to lay it all on Ronaldo, I think it seems harsh to me.
No. But you're missing the point. The point is, it's like, let me make an analogy, Don. When you were younger and more handsome, maybe you could pull off the fancy sports car and ride around town. At some point, you can't afford the fancy sports car anymore. And yeah, you still have it. It's not the sports car's fault, but you're operating in a different world. And that's a situation Juve find themselves in.
And Gab, your latest piece for ESPN.com, you still say, though, that the Champions League nightmare doesn't change the fact that the club is actually on the right track. So can you explain that to us?
Well, it's because for years of playing a brand of football, which nobody in Europe played except for Atletico or had any success with, they said, we need to go and dominate the opposition. We have to dominate the pitch. This, by the way, isn't a new thing. Max Allegri said it in his last year. That's why he tried the 5-star attack and all this nonsense. But he couldn't get it done. He couldn't make it work, which is why he opted to leave. They thought Sarri could do it. Sarri, after a few months, he didn't have the courage to do it. And so he went back and he played conservative football. So they went in and they tried to do it with Pirlo this year. They've made much more sweeping changes in their recruitment, in their scouting, in the way they're set up, because they want to do this. Now, Pirlo may be too experienced. It might not work. He might not be the right man. But they're committed to this direction. And, I've said this a million times, but I did come up with an analogy which maybe works. They're committed to owning an electric car, okay? Pirlo will find out if he's a Tesla or if he's a golf cart. If he's a golf cart, they'll get rid of him, but they're going to replace him with another electric car. They're not going back to what it was before, where it was everybody back and just wait for something to happen at the other end, and then it's all defend, because they don't think that football works anymore, and I think they're right.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.